Shalom, my friends. Wait, let me admit our wonderful guest into the neighborhood. Shalom, my friends. Shalom, my enemies. This is your old pal, Rabbi Sol Solomon, founder and spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches. A little early for me to be doing these things. I still have the curlers in my hair, in my curly hair. But ladies and gentlemen, oh my God, I am so delighted. I am so thrilled to be talking to a writer, a critic, and an editor, or if you're into the whole female parsing of words and edit tricks, and we'll see what tricks she has been up to. Her name is JAMI BERNARD, and if that the name sort of rings a bell if you're in New York, you would know. In fact, for years, she was the film critic for the New York Daily News, for the New York Post. She's also written books about film, including chick flicks, or there should be, now this day and age, there are going to be Chicks with Dick Flicks would be a more appropriate one for the way things are going now. You've got also a movie called a book called First Films, all about, did you know that this famous actor was in a B movie 5 years before anybody knew? A whole book of that, plus the incredible Shrinking Critic about going through a whole weight loss program, breast cancer, there and back, and so many more books. But she is now also the founder of Barncat Publishing, which is not a publishing house, but she is there to help authors revise their books, organize their books, make pitches, just get published and get published properly. So, and amazingly enough, this woman, JAMI BERNARD, even inspired a DC Comics character. So did I. They called me Cranky Old Juperman. But ladies and gentlemen, won't you please welcome to the neighborhood, JAMI BERNARD! Shalom, JAMI. How you doing? Oh, you have to, all my talking, you have to unmute. I can't hear you. Please unmute your microphone there.
You didn't want to really hear me, did you? Is that
No, it's all about me.
Okay, yeah.
How are you?
I'm good. After this big introduction, I'm like, whoa, I'm somebody. Thank you. Thank you, Rabbi Sol.
You're most well. You're not only somebody, you're two people. You're 10 people, considering all that you have done in your life and all that you have written about. So first of all, how has it been? You're in a pretty good job for a pandemic, because you read, but you help authors, you Zoom with them, you talk with them, and you help them write, which is a very solitary kind of a thing anyway. So how's the pandemic been for you?
It's been great. I'm sorry, but it's been great.
Because?
Well, first of all, people were locked up in their homes and some of them couldn't do their job. So anyone who wanted to write a book or had thought about it was like, I guess I'll do it now. And they needed help. So I had more clients, but also, so I spent 20 years as a film critic, and it was all like Cannes Film Festival and, champagne and the dinners and the celebrities. But I am an introvert. Even my friends didn't realize I pass, but I'm an introvert. And the pandemic was like, oh, what relief. I don't have to go to dinner parties. I don't have to explain why. I don't have to weasel out of, like social invitations. I love puttering around by myself. So it was great for me.
Well, Masla, you're vaxxed, are you healthy? Have you had any COVID incidences at all?
No, I've been very healthy. I got an early vaccination. Of course, now I'm going to need the booster shot.
Yeah.
I was very cautious, but it was, I revel in being solitary. So there were people who were really upset, and I have this neighbor. We call her Sandy Comedian because there's another Sandy in the building, Sandy Nurse. So Sandy Comedian, every day at 8 o'clock, she would do a Facebook thing, but she's usually very funny, but she was so upset about being closed in the pandemic that she'd be crying and I was like, I can't listen to this podcast anymore because I don't feel that way. Sorry, my cat is.
No, by the way, I appreciate your tuning into this podcast. I love what you wrote to my friend Dave, who is the producer. You started watching, it's like, what the hell is this? What the hell is? And then you're like, oh no, I'm just kind of entertaining.
Well, at first I was going to turn it off. No offense. Don't tell Dave. Don't tell Dave. But I was going to turn it off. It's like, what nonsense is this? And then I sort of got hooked, and it's like, this is really fun.
There you go. There you go. I did read the line about not holding a candle today. Well, we'll talk about that later.
Sorry about that.
I do hold a yard-side candle whenever I can. But let me ask you: you seem like a New Yorkie. I mean, you're living in New York. So Barn Cat probably is like the least New York name for a publishing company. And where did that come from?
Actually, because I have cats and they are not pedigreed cats. They're like barn cats. Well, they're adopted. And I like the idea of non-pedigree, of like, the cats who they know who they are, but they don't have to be like an award-winning, do you know what I mean? Close to the ground, able to, hear and manipulate and do you know what I mean? It's hard to explain. But I looked around, it was like barn cat. Yeah. Plus I'm such a country girl. And I spend a lot of time, I live part of the time in France when there's no pandemic in the country with friends of mine. And I love to say, I'm a country girl. And the laughter, because I'm always like, what's that? Or what's this bug? Or, like, there's a pigeon in my room. Un pigeon dans ma chambre, and like just freaking out all the time.
It's like the line from Annie Hall where I can't be in the country, dead moths behind screens. It's like, no, I can't.
Yeah, it's sort of like that, but I love it there anyway. But so I thought barn cat, and then I tried to reserve the URL, but it was already taken. So I called it Barn Cat Publishing. But I need to correct something here, Rabbi Sol. I need to confess. Oh, that's the wrong religion. See, it's not a publishing house. I help writers get to the point where they can be published. But that was probably a mistake of mine to call it Barn Cat Publishing, because then I get letters saying, can you please publish my book?
Of course, because I have 5 of my Torah-related manuscripts in the pipeline to you.
And I'd love to look at them. I'd love to, Rabbi Sol. I'm so busy.
And they're in Armenian. So it's really, nobody's touching that. Nobody else is writing that. And I go on TV, I can pitch.
It's a one of a kind.
Which is interesting because I don't even speak Armenian, and yet I wrote it now. It's amazing. Let me. I brought in. I just occurred to me to mention, going back to film for a moment. I brought up Woody Allen, and then there's what's his name, Harvey Weinstein. And if you were still a film critic, would you be affected by? Would you discount liking certain people's films even though they turned out to be allegedly horrible? Would that make it? Would you not see a Miramax film anymore, or how would you?
Well, I think those are two different cases. Okay. I mean, I had to deal with Harvey a lot when I was a film critic. It's not a COVID cough. It's a.
Well, you gave it to me. You coughed right in the camera. Now I have it.
I'll look away next time. No, it's an asthmatic, automatic. It's all.
It's an auto-asthmatic. Yes.
Yeah. So Harvey, and he was very.
Hold on.
I've got. Oh, where is my thing? I have the little pulsimeter.
Wait, that takes the temperature?
No, that's for the oxygen level.
Right. Yeah. No. This is a thermometer thing. This is a. No. I'm sorry. Bend over. It's the old style. No, I kid. So continue.
So Harvey. So first of all, he was very instrumental in one of the books I wrote was a biography of Quentin Tarantino. And he gave me access to, well, I had already met Quentin several times. He was on board with it, but Harvey gave me access to every actor, Bruce Willis, Uma Thurman, everyone who worked with Quentin
Tarantino, yeah.
Q, as we call him. Q. No, his mother does, but not me. So he was instrumental, although he did not. What kind of language is allowed on the screen?
Oh yeah, please say any fucking thing you want. Go ahead.
He didn't jerk off into the potted plant with me, which offends me because.
What? Wait, ha! I've never heard that phrase before. What?
You've never heard this phrase before?
Honestly, no. It's not in Exodus. Then I don't know it. He's never jerked off into a potted plant.
He never. Flowered a potted plant with his.
No, I don't mind the language of it. I'm saying what you mean by it. What does that mean? I get that. Oh, I'm sorry. I get you. So in other words, that's what Harvey, what he did apparently. I thought he was just.
Did that with a lot of people.
Got it. Okay, sorry.
So, but the thing is that even back then, we all knew, we didn't know the extent of what he was doing, but we knew he was doing these horrible things.
You knew.
Yes, everybody knew, not the extent of it, not the particulars. And we knew we knew which ones sometimes who, anyway, what could we do though? In fact, I wanted to write a piece about it, but there was no way back.
We need proof. You can't write something like that without actual
proof. To go on the record.
Yeah.
You need, he would have shut it down in a second. But it didn't stop me from working with him. He did a lot of good things as well. You know, he ran the AmFAR auctions in Cannes every year for a long time. And although you probably won't want to hear this, but no, I'm not even going to say.
No, I have no particular plus or minus for him. If you want to say something terrible about him or me.
No, he is a terrible person. That's true. Nasty. He has a sexy voice. I'm just saying that he can make it sexy. He knows how to play people.
Like me! Yes.
Yeah, you and Harvey have a lot in common.
No, let's move away because I love the fact.
Let's tiptoe away from this.
And let's clomp away in our
my
elephant shoes about that. But here's, in terms of sexy, I love the fact that you're not afraid in your writing and some of the things to go there to places other people like, you know, John Simon, well, he might, but some other people would just, no, I'm not really going to admit that. I remember watching, what was his name, Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel talking about the movie Emmanuel. And Ebert was like, oh, it turned me on. I was like, oh my God, he's allowed to admit that he gets a boner from watching a movie. You get the chick boner, and you've written about the chick boner.
And is the word boner in the Bible as well?
It is. Aaron had one. Every time he would come against one of these Egyptian princesses, he'd be like,
Oi.
or as I like to call it, he would get his love mezuzah going, if you know what I'm saying. So thank you, helper. But let me ask, did you ever think twice? Did you ever think, oh my God, if I write this, people are going to know I have a sex drive?
Yeah, I did worry about that because I do, and B, I would write things like that. Well, all right, my review of what was that Russell Crowe movie? The Gladiator? Was it called Gladiator?
He was very Gladiator too. No, I can't.
Yeah.
Sorry.
In the Bible, I don't recall that.
I write extra books and I follow those.
I can see an Armenian.
Exactly.
So Gladiator, I gave it 4 stars. It went on to win an Oscar. And so I was correct. But now he played a character called Maximus, was it? So my lead was something like, he was Gluteus Maximus or something. And my editor, I heard secondhand that the editor went around saying, she's not very smart, is she? It's like, excuse me. I thought it was a great pun. And I was correct about that movie.
Did he show his tuchus? Was that also his? Did he? I don't remember. It was a good movie. I don't remember if he showed his bun work there.
What is bunny work?
His bun work. His tuchus muscles there. You know what I'm saying? Isn't that the gluteus thing?
The bun was not boiled at the end of the movie. I mean, there were test audiences, and so we do this, but.
Well, let me ask you a question. But then you even didn't you edit a book or put together a book about naked scenes in movies? What was the name of it? It was.
Well, I had a couple. One I wrote called Total Exposure. All my books are.
Oh yeah, please hold them up, and people can still get them on Amazon or on your website or something other than.
Yeah, but I have nothing to hawk today.
Oh, good, fine.
So when I do, I'm coming back.
Absolutely.
You, Rabbi Sol.
Yes, because Dave can't hold a candle to me. Never let that down. All right. Yes.
So I wrote a book called Total Exposure, which was about nude scenes and how it helped or hindered individual actresses or actors' careers. Actually, Back then there weren't that many actors naked. But then I also edited a book from the National Society of Film Critics called The X List. And it was full of,
Well, critics say
it wasn't porn movies. It's just
no, but hot scenes in in movie, like My Dinner with Andre, when they're sitting across the table.
Oh yeah, that was
each other's eyes.
hot. The talking,
And when Wallace Shawn, he goes to his
linguistics. Yeah,
forehead.
yeah.
Anywho, we're talking with JAMI BERNARD, ladies and gentlemen. Now, first of all, I got so many questions here, I don't even know where to continue. When you are a critic, do you acknowledge a bias for and against film? Like you like noir, I can never pronounce that word, noir-y, thrillery type, old gangstery kind of movies. Maybe there's kinds of movies that you just don't particularly normally care for. You go to see them. Do you let the audience know in like your first paragraph or second, like, generally, this is not my kind of movie, but this one was pretty damn good, or what?
Well, I wouldn't say it exactly that way. I don't like slasher movies, but what I did was I familiarized myself.
It's happening, I know. Yeah.
With what people liked in those movies. And in fact, I started writing freelance for Fangoria magazine, the great editor, Tony Timpone. And so I got to know why they liked it and what they liked about it. So when I saw a slasher movie, I could appreciate whether it was a good slasher movie or not, even though personally, and since I've stopped being a critic, I don't watch those.
Right. I would not, as much as I would think it would be a wonderful job to see the latest Bertolucci, but back in the day, the latest Birdman movie, the latest thing coming from Scorsese. But then every time you also have to sit there every Friday in October and see things of just people being diced and sliced and horror and terror and like, oi, 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 oi. It's like me going to the dentist. I don't, So,
Well, you find your way into things. So, for example, with slice and dice movies, you can learn a lot about prosthetics and about special effects, and you can appreciate it on those levels as well. And also every year, I don't know what it's like today, but when I was a critic, there were about 350 movies a year from Hollywood. I had to see all of them. So when people say, oh, that sounds so swell, they're thinking of the 20 movies that year that were really good. They're not thinking of the others that I could not walk out on and had to watch. I had a great deal of patience.
Yeah, I mean, and it's, nowadays, critics, especially over the pandemic, they get a DVD, they get a screener. You had to go to like Magno Sound, I'm sure, in the Sony building and where those places to see these things way back. And then you go to one, you have a little bite to next one, like 3 or 4 a day sometimes, I assume.
Yeah, there were 3 or 4 a day. And at a film festival, I could see up to 7 in a day if I timed it well.
And then write about them. That was the thing. You also had to make the time and stay. Did you burn the candle at both, or did you just set your weekends, or how did you find the time if you're writing, seeing that? Even theater critics see only one show a day. If you're seeing 2 or 3 movies, why did you write about them?
Because they're pikers, those theater critics. They can't take it.
They can't hold a candle to you.
One of those candles. There's so many candles being held.
I know. No, but when would you? What was your? So you'd see 3 movies in a day. You would go home and like knock out 3 reviews between 8 p.m. and midnight, or what? No, you couldn't. How?
I burned that proverbial candle at both ends. Yes, I didn't have any particular work hours, and I was an independent contractor. So it's not like a 9-to-5 job. I went to the screenings when they held the screenings. There might be something at 10 a.m. and there might be something at 7:30 p.m. And then in between, if when I could, I would write the review, or all the reviews, basically, most of the reviews ran in the Friday paper, because Friday is when most movies open. So I would see the movies during the week and I'd fit it in. And the latest deadline I could do is like Thursday afternoon to get a story.
Wow, that's right. What did they give you at the dailies? Was it 500 words did you get, or more or less?
Well, it started out with more, and it dwindled over time. And when Christmas movies came around, so many movies open on the same day, I had to do, there was a remake of Hamlet. I don't know if it was Mel Gibson, I don't know. And I got like, 200 words or less, 100 words. I can't even say what it's about, let alone give an opinion.
I can't even clear my throat from phlegm in 100 words. I go, Baruch, I'm done.
Exactly.
So do you miss, though, I'm sure some days you do, some days you don't. Do you miss the prestige? Do you miss the life of, I'm going to the movie, I'm seeing my name in print in the New York Daily News?
I see. I thought with that question, you were going a different way. I thought you were going to say, do I miss that job or being a movie critic? No. And I haven't missed a day. I haven't missed it a day because I'm all about moving forward. Although I don't like change. It's an odd thing.
You're Jewish. Yeah.
But if you ask about the prestige, yes, I missed that, especially at first. I knew this was going to happen. I knew I was going to lose my job. I was very highly paid for a journalist. And it's like, these days are dwindling. Plus the rise of the internet, the democratization of opinion. They no longer needed high-priced individual columnists because anyone and everyone could give an opinion. Although, being a movie critic is more than just, I liked it.
Well, not in 200 words, really. It's only, I liked it, really. 150 words. It's like, I liked it. Here's a very quick reason why. Buy tickets not.
Well, yeah, you have to.
You got James Agee doing that, yeah.
James Agee was in the Times crossword puzzle today.
Ooh, I did not see the serendipity, how we're connecting here.
Look, hey.
Hey, do you have any stories or anecdotes about film critics that we all know, either the dead ones like Ebert or Simon or Siskel? I'm sure you knew them all. Or if you want to, Rex Reed is still living, Armand White, who nobody agrees with, any of these people.
I know things about all of them.
Oh, tell me the dead ones, because you don't have to, you can
all right, well, so
barricade.
It's not all gossip. It's just, true things. So Roger Ebert, he wasn't just a critic, and he won...
was a Pulitzer, I think he was.
Yeah, he won a Pulitzer for criticism. He was very tech-minded. And in my first year covering the Cannes Film Festival, I was in the same hotel with him. Yeah, the hoity-toity, we were all on this. I was kicked out of that hotel. The next few years I stayed at the, if I could remember the name of it. It was like so not spectacular.
Jade Inn on Route 6. It was a long commute.
Exactly. Like that. It was like the Aloha
Motor Lodge. Yeah, okay.
Lodge.
But an Ebert story from that.
So he, I couldn't get my computer. Those days we had modems. We had to connect things. And I couldn't get it to work. It didn't have the right outlets or whatever. And so Ebert came up to my room with like a little screwdriver, and he took out the whole phone thing and he put it, so he was able to hook up my modem.
He sounds like a mensch. In a lot of ways, I saw the documentary. Yeah. Did the documentary catch him? Did you watch that one where it showed him at the end of his life, and also it's really good.
Where would I find that?
I guess it must have been on Netflix. I rented it. It's put together post-mortem, and you see him unable to, with his jaw down where my elbow is, but he's still, he's Ebert. All right, what about a John Simon story?
Well, John Simon, as you know, was very opinionated.
No, yeah.
And I was, I became chair of the New York Film Critics Circle one year. So the year before that, I was the vice chair. So as the vice chair, it's like putting a wedding together, in charge of the seating and whatever. And I had my crew, to sit with me. Sorry, I'm getting texts.
Your pizza's done. What is
that? He was in the middle of like my friends. So it's a round table, and I asked if he would mind moving over a couple of seats. He refused to do it. That's the kind of guy he was.
Yeah.
Someone just reminded me recently. I just want to say I was very funny when I was the MC of that dinner.
I'm sure you were.
I was so funny. I was on fire.
Patton Oswalt couldn't hold a candle to you.
No candles. No. Yeah. And someone reminded me that I said off the cuff that the losers of the night would have to sit next to John Simon. Got a big laugh.
Yeah.
Not from him.
Yeah, but I don't mind your dissing on it, because Dave, the producer of the show, used to know him, and I had no problem. He was very courtly, he was very nice, except the one time when he promised to be on this program,
he didn't come,
and he blew me off. The son of wait, can we show this? Stan, there's a fan of the show. I actually have a fan of the show who decided
It's called Stan.
he is taking me and or Dave and put them into Photoshop situations. I don't know if you can see this.
Oh, I can't see it too well.
It's a little too, yeah.
I can't know. I'm seeing.
We'll show that later. That guy in the middle is me.
Oh, I see that with the nice hat.
Yeah, isn't that lovely?
Where's John Simon?
No. It's got nothing to. It's just
I thought that, they put
no.
John Simon.
It's someone is a fan art thing that
Fan art.
fan art.
That's fan art. Yes.
Fan fiction
Sure.
and fan mathematics, which I don't understand at all.
Yeah. Well, I see some of it behind you. You have numbers behind you. That's a kind of a fan.
It's certainly, well, this is our 812th episode of the program. That's what we're
It
doing.
looks like it's August 12th.
Oh, oops.
Because it's, I see. It's so
Okay.
your head.
Well, I need room for my head.
It's because you're a big head.
I have an enormous Jewish head. No, we don't. I'm going to ask a little bit more, though. Since you wrote an entire book about Quentin Tarantino, anything that we don't know about that you can say, because he's still alive and you're probably still somewhat friendly. So anything that would surprise us.
Well, by now it won't surprise you, but I was the first person to point out that he has a foot fetish.
Oh,
But at the time, no one knew. And he took me to dinner after the book was published, and we were at the Toronto Film Festival, and he told me he loved my book. It was better than the others. But then he asked how I knew about the foot fetish. And I said, it's written all over the screen.
Pulp Fiction, especially, you said the schmutzy feet of Uma Thurman is like...
Yes, that's the key. It's not just that the camera lingers on her foot, the back of her foot, but her foot is dirty. You know, on a film set, every single thing, they're powdering you up and everything is perfect. They wouldn't have not noticed that, she hadn't cleaned her feet. That was on purpose because it turns them on.
Okay. So you never... You intimated that he had a foot fetish, or you literally said
I said he was.
Just by watching the movie, and he said after the book was written, he said, "Yep, you got me. Did he explain what he liked?
He said he is. It's just very clear, and he's now put it in his movies. I mean, it's very, very clear by now.
What is he? Did he mention? Did he explain why he? Because I like boobs. I love boobs. Boobs are wonderful. Elbows are hot.
I have a couple.
And Mosmic and are wow! I don't even know how to ask this. Are they? Because you had.
I had breast cancer.
Right.
But these are still mine.
Yes. Brava! Magnifica! Look at them! Oh, the matzo balls are in the picture, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, they are.
And
I had a lumpectomy, and they were already large, so you can hardly tell that something's missing.
Yeah, but actually, were you faced with that decision that, what was her name, Angelina Jolie and other people do, is like, you're healthy now, but, or something could happen, take them off,
Well, I know people who have done that and who do that, and Angelina Jolie did that. Everyone has to make their own decision, but I disagree with that. Because, first of all, you can still get breast cancer even if you don't have breasts. It has to do with the tissue underneath. It's not completely, so I feel it's, some people feel it's prophylactic, but I don't know if it's.
Oh, I never wear them. That's why I have 21 children. Yes.
But I think it's coming from fear, obviously. I can't say don't be afraid, but it's coming from fear. I thought I probably had the gene, and it turned out I did not have the gene. And if I had the gene, maybe I would decide differently, but I don't think so. I mean, I'm taking things as they come. I'm very cautious. I'm not, trying to invite trouble, but it's a big decision for women.
Of course.
And I think if it's unnecessary, they used to only do mastectomies. They didn't do lumpectomies. And then they found, actually a lumpectomy is just as effective along with radiation. And some countries don't acknowledge that yet. So you see, women were having their breasts removed when they didn't have to. So I took issue with Angelina Jolie's, but this is terrible, if I may. I had cancer, so I'm allowed to joke about it.
Exactly.
No, but I am.
No, thank you. I've been helped, but I joke about it anyway. So please go ahead. Yes.
Join the club. So when Angelina Jolie wrote that op-ed in the Times, I didn't realize that she was writing it because I read it online, and I don't. And when the newspaper's in your hands, you see the byline.
The byline, right? Yeah.
But I was just reading this piece, and then it said, luckily, I had a good supporter in Brad Pitt, and I was like, this humor column, what is it doing in there? Yeah, if I had Brad Pitt to support me, I just thought it was like a joke.
Oh, and you didn't realize it was her husband at the time, Mr. Yeah, that is actually kind of, that wasn't offensive. That wasn't tasteless. Oh, you can say stuff like that.
Oh.
So, what else do I want? There's so many questions for JAMI BERNARD while we're here in the neighborhood. But although, now, if people, well, let's do a little bit. I know you're not plugging anything, but let's plug this. If people have a book that they want help getting into shape, or they think the book already is in shape, but they don't know how to pitch, they don't know who to pitch to, you can help them. And what you want to go to Barncat? What's the URL?
Well, they can go to JAMIBERNARD.com. It will redirect to Barncat. Jamie, no E. Your friend Dave sent me an email that had an E on the Jamie.
I saw it. I smacked him for you. I know it was so automatic. He was. I watched him writing it. I watched him typing, and he did it before without the E. Yeah, well, and then he stopped thinking for a minute, and he put the E in there, and I said,
Dave is not all there.
See, I love how you play both ends. I can't hold a candle to him, but he's not all there. Between the two of us, we make a nice.
Likable.
Can I ask you, whom do you think are the most?
Oh, wait a second. I have to tell them about working with me. Not that I'm plugging anything.
Oh, yes. How? Please, go ahead.
We go to JAMIBERNARD.com with no E on Jamie. Right. And there are several ways I work with people. People might have an idea for a book, but they don't know how to put it together. They might have written an entire manuscript, but no one is picking it up and they don't know why. They could be at any stage of it, and I can help them pretty much at any stage. And that's why they should contact me. Now, your other question?
Well, by the way, I should mention that there's an E on the end of Bernard. I don't know why that. No, just kidding. It's JAMIBERNARD.com to get to Barncat. So
it turns out that I'm a quarter French. I only learned this in the last few years. My sister, for some OCD reason, is into genealogy, and she found out that we're a quarter French, and I've been spending all these months in France every year.
There you go. Again, the weird. So did you do the spit thing also? Did you do the 23 and him and the?
Yeah, my sister forced me to do it. I come from a family of non-spitters. I don't know if you've.
I'm a drooler, actually.
I can drool, but I can't spit. So my sister insisted, and the different ones, 23andMe, all of them have a different system. One, you have to hawk it up, and one, you put something in your mouth. And none of them were working with me. It was just horrible. I finally got something, but she had done it beforehand. And so I'm not the only one who's the introvert. Well, I don't know if she's an introvert, but anyway, we don't like people. We don't like to meet people. It's just horrific. So she's gathering all these relatives, hundreds, thousands of relatives. And I said to her, but after the pandemic, they're going to want to meet with you. She's like, oh no.
No, absolutely. No, hell.
She said maybe she would go to the cemetery and see the graves of our ancestors, but she doesn't want to meet the live people. That's the kind of family I come from.
As a Jew, I understand this completely. Now, speaking of as a Jew, I know you're 25% French. Are you like all the way Jewish? And how Jewish was your upbringing? How Yidlach are you?
This is the difficult question.
Really?
Because I'm an atheist.
Okay.
And the word Jewish applies in two ways. One as the religion and a set of beliefs, and one as a culture. But because it's the same word, I feel like I'm in a linguistic trap. So I was brought up in a household where my father was agnostic. My sister got bat mitzvahed when she was in her 30s.
Okay.
She went back to it, and my mother was Jewish. She died January 2020. And I miss her so much. I did not get along with her most of my life, and I miss her so much.
What do you miss most about your mama?
I didn't realize she had a great sense of humor because my father was very funny. And I was always like, what does he see in her? I was a miserable kid. No, she wasn't the greatest mother, I have to say, but she was misunderstood. I didn't understand her. And once my father was dead and she was in the nursing home, I'm like, she has a great dry sense of humor. In fact, she said, we were talking about, we're at the nursing home. My sister and I are visiting her, and we're talking about the old people. And then she said something about the kick the bucket list. Who's going to die next? But she was in a nursing home in Manhattan that was mostly Hispanic. She had no one. She grew up, and my father grew up speaking only Yiddish in the house. And she had no one to speak Yiddish with, and she had no one to be funny with because they did not get her humor.
Oh.
And she was the only person who read books. She had a Kindle, and they did a big article about her, front page of the nursing home Gazette.
Nursing home news.
Yeah, because it was like, she reads books. Whoa, what's that about?
Well, nobody else there can see. They're all like, oh, there's a letter A. Well, yeah. Well, let me ask also, because we have just a couple of minutes before we have other people coming in, and we've got a trivia quiz to begin, and Dave will be doing that. But so I only have just a couple. Can I ask you? Can you name one or two of your very favorite? I know you probably have a dozen favorite films of all time.
That's my least favorite question. I like Dave better now. Again, you're out, Rabbi Sol, because I will explain. But I know you have a time limitation.
All these guests are always late. They're always fucking late. So go ahead.
They're like the John Simons of yeah. Wait, what was I saying?
You like answering the question. Look, you have a dozen, I'm sure, but why?
It's a trick question because it's your favorite movie if you were stranded on a desert island is the movie that has the most repeatability. The favorite movie in terms of like tourism or film quality, maybe Citizen Kane because it broke ground and because of the filming and everything. You see what I mean? Like there's a different favorite for different.
Yeah, but
I was a child.
The question, my favorite tourist movie is this. The movie I would take on a desert island is this. The movie that if I'm feeling sexy is My Dinner with Andre. I mean, it would be you can have a list of like 5 things when people answer the question. So it wouldn't be like an offensive bad question. It would just be like, oh, I can't answer just to kill them.
I have trouble answering just like that. Plus my mood changes. But when I was on the Joan Rivers show once, she asked, and I said, Bye Bye Birdie. Because as a kid, Bye Bye Birdie was such a great movie. It is a great movie, actually.
I haven't seen it in a very, very, very...
And Margaret.
I don't want to take... Well, yes, and Margaret. But, no, I hate to take the time away from you, but now I remember Dave told me a story about you know what? When Dave comes on, ask him the Bye Bye Birdie story, so I can talk to you more because he has a story about Bye Bye Birdie the movie. Okay, I mean it has nothing to do with about jerking off into a potted plant over Anwar.
No, I thought that's the theme of today.
Oh, it generally is, but we can sidestep that theme. Let me ask you then, over the years, especially during your journalism time. Did you feel treated differently from, I assume like there were 3 male critics to every female critic. Did you feel patronized? Did you feel sort of mostly treated equally the same and so forth?
Well, there were 10 or 15 male critics to every female.
Right, yeah.
And it's not that the critics treated me differently, but the public, well, that's always true. I used to get the most horrible hate mail. And by the way, my mother used to say, when I would say, I'm an atheist, and she said, they'll find you anyway. That
is the line. That is the theme of every show I do. They will find you anyway.
So the hate letters I would get, because my picture was with every column, and they would write saying they didn't finish their job in the Holocaust, stuff like that.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Whoa!
Yes.
And that letter was written by Elie Wiesel, so you were making some enemies. I don't even know what that means. Can I ask? Is somebody, since you wrote the book, and since people can still get your book, even if they're not in print, they can get them on Amazon. They can get copies. So, what would you say is, and I hope there's one answer for this, the most embarrassing all-time movie debut of someone? Because you wrote that book, First Films. And
yeah, I'm trying to think of what was the most embarrassing one. Oh, well, Sly Stallone, I think, was in a porn movie first.
I believe yeah.
Porn movie. Oh, but if I could just change the subject just for a second. When you introduced me, you said that I was the inspiration for a character, DC Comics.
Oh, sure.
I wrote this comic. It's a Lois Lane, and it's based on me starting out as a reporter at the New York Post. I wrote it. Someone else drew it. I'm most proud of that.
That is your most proud. Well, I mean, that's a pretty wonderful thing. Do you like those? Because half of the movies coming out of Hollywood are DC Comics, Marvel, superhero heroine things. Do you? Yeah.
No, I'm more into the TV series now, because the TV series are where it's happening. You know, the streaming series. Some of them are so good. I just watched The White Lotus. It's on HBO. It's so good. Anyway, that's where all the creative work is happening now.
Yes. So also, let me ask you, one of the things that also is pleasantly surprising about a critic is that, critics, we sit there, or as Dave would tell me, you judge, you're watching and you go, oh, this is good, this is not good, this is that. You let yourself be judged. You wrote books about weight loss, which is setting yourself up for people saying, you look like this, look like this. Did you feel that was an important component of you as a writer and a person, of saying, if I'm going to judge, I guess I better let people judge me, how I came through cancer, how I feel about sex and the movies and things like this?
No one wants to be judged. I just feel being honest is the important thing. And I did over the years develop a thick skin about feedback for my writing, not about other things, but about feedback for writing, which is very important. And just as long as the book or what you write is honest, I feel immune from the criticism.
Speaking of criticism, you mentioned also the democratization of, how do you feel, because you can say, as you were saying, that there's a difference if you have an intelligent critic, a film critic with a lot of experience and background and maybe went to film school or whatever, versus someone who is really, really smart, loves a movie, goes crazy and writes this dissertation about a movie and posts that on a blog, and it is going to be better than something the critic wrote, except that other person doesn't have to review 8 other things that week or that weekend. How do you feel about this idea of anybody can be a critic?
Well, I don't agree with that anybody can be a critic, because it depends on your critical faculties, but there are plenty of people online and all over the place who can write very well about movies, and they don't have to be employed as a film critic. True.
So, but is there room? Do you think there's still room for both? There's room for the columnist, the critic, the sage, or is it all just whoever's posting? See if they make sense to you as a reader.
Not sure I understand that.
Well, no, the difference between going to a newspaper, a couple of times a week, knowing the predilections of that person, having someone who's, their tastes, they're a good writer, versus, a movie opened, let me not even look at Rotten Tomatoes, let me look on Facebook and see what 150 people are blogging and saying about this thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest challenge facing humanity is the lack of critical thinking. That's what's getting us into all the trouble politically, just every which way, and climate change, everything, critical thinking. So people can post all they like, but some people, the way they write, what they're saying, how they say it, you can tell if you're a critical thinker, whether that's a worthwhile judgment. Or if they're just this is the funniest thing I've ever seen, because I've only seen 3 things.
Right. Yeah, when I was a child, every movie I would see would be the greatest movie ever.
Because it was new.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I had no background to compare, and I had a wonderful time. I enjoyed it. I was like, oh my God, this is 5 stars, right? And later on, I'm like, oh, it was a pretty good movie.
But I mean, sometimes they're right. Like, I loved Black Panther. I haven't seen all the Marvel universe, whatever, but that movie was very good. I was a little skeptical at first because why is everyone saying it's so good? Because when everyone says it, I'm like, can that really be true? But it was. So
Right. I don't know. I don't know where. I thought Elijah Muhammad would be in there somewhere, but he never showed up. I don't. Little Black Panther. Anywho, we're talking with JAMI BERNARD as we wait for 2 different late people to join us in the daybook. I just texted them just so we know. But this is good. We can chat more. We can schmooze more, and I can get through even more of my questions. For example, is there a movie or 2 or 3 that you loved when you were reviewing that nobody else did, and even now you're like, why does this movie get no love?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can follow all the things you just listed, but
No one can.
I know that when hello, here's someone.
This is David Sheward. He's going to be joining Dave in the neighborhood. We're talking to JAMI BERNARD.
Dave, there's going to be 2 Daves?
Well, there's a David, which is David Sheward, who is. Let me say that JAMI is answering a question. Then I'll introduce David. Then Dave Lefkowitz will come on back to the show and get the quiz started just in time for Leslie Hoban Blake, who I'm sure will show up at 11:30. But
David, it's all about me right now. So you just.
He's muted. He can't even say anything yet.
I know.
So JAMI, continue, please.
So the movie Pootie Tang came out, and it was great.
Was that the Louis C.K. one? Or no?
Well,
he directed that. Didn't he do Pootie
involved in it? I just remember Wanda Sykes was in it. It was just so funny. It was so funny. At the time, though. So anyway, I got in trouble because with my good review, because someone I'm not allowed to diss certain people. Legally. Oh. I'll just say that
initials.
Someone at the Daily News thought I should be fired because how could a movie called Pootie Tang be any good?
Really?
Yes.
They went on it. They didn't even see the movie. And by the way, the movie it's the one I'm thinking of. It's about this sort of pimpy black superhero-y guy. I remember there was one funny thing where the bullet hits him on his version of Payas and bounces off the Payas and hits him. That was funny. It was cute. It was. I think Louis C.K. directed it.
Yeah, it was stuff like that. I would love a movie, and other people would be like, "That can't be true." And I remember, Iranian cinema was so fabulous, and I had an editor at a certain point who said, "It can't be. It's not from Hollywood." He had never seen one, but he's like, "It can't be." Absolutely.
I saw one of those Kiarostami films. He drives around in a taxi for 5 hours. I'm like,
yeah, it's a Shaggy Dog story. It's so wonderful. Yeah. Anyway, there were a bunch like that. And there were also movies, I can't remember them now, but that I overpraised at the time. It's true.
Oh, can't remember any of those? That'd be interesting.
The file cabinet of my mind doesn't work that way, which is why I'm a little nervous about this upcoming, trivia. My first TV appearance was with Joe Franklin, and I was so nervous, and I said, "No trivia, though. No trivia. No, please." So I said, "Okay, no trivia." I'm sitting there, and by the way, I'm sorry to take up time for the new David, but I bought a new velvet skirt that I was going to wear on the show, and I was so nervous. I placed my palms down on the skirt. I didn't move. And at the end of the show, I had to throw out the skirt because there were palm prints. I was so nervous. I was sweating. Well, so he's interviewing me and I'm very stiff and everything. And suddenly he says, "And now it's time for a trivia." And I'm like, I didn't answer a single thing.
Well, my friends, we are talking with JAMI BERNARD, my friends from Streit's Matzah Factory Goodness here on the Dave's Gone By Radio TV program of the air, my friends, coming to you from downtown New Jersey. That's my joke. Anyway, I shouldn't do that. First of all, I have to go, but Dave will be coming back. We've been talking with JAMI BERNARD. Remember to go to JAMI BERNARD. There's no E. Well, there's an E in Bernard, but there's no E before Bernard. JAMIBERNARD.com. If you have a book, if you have an idea for a book, if you have a publishing concern that you think the book would be good for, how do you target them? It's all there. JAMIBERNARD.com to get to Barncat and to have her as a consultant. You can see why you would want to do that. Now, I've got to go. David Sheward, you stay. Dave will be
Okay.
right. In fact, you talk. David Sheward, let me make an introduction here. This is JAMI BERNARD, former film critic of the New York Daily News, former film critic of the New York Post as well. David Sheward was the former managing editor of Backstage magazine. He was also the president of the Drama Desk for several years. He is still a theater critic for TheaterLife.com, CulturalDaily.com. He has his own blog, The David Desk. So, David, do you have any questions for JAMI? Because I have to go off camera for a minute.
Okay. How are you, Jamie?
I can answer that one. I'm fine. Thank you. You know, earlier in the show, I dissed theater critics. I was only joking, though.
That's okay.
Because they only could see like one thing a day. Yeah.
Well, sometimes we would see two if there was a matinee and an evening.